So if you're in Vancouver, maybe you can get into a bed sooner, but the rest of them will probably be, just given to different, like Providence Health. Providence Healthcare is involved in this deal as well, and they're not exactly they don't exactly use their healthcare dollars wisely. So, I don't know if that'll make a difference, but more nurses would help. So let's hope that some of that money does equal to more training and better facilities. And really, what nurses need more help just on the job, as in more colleagues, but they also need much more support in other capacities as well.
Yeah, and the system has made it so enticing.
yeah, this is what blows my mind when I hear, I'm going to be a nurse. Like, oh, really? I see.
Yeah.
So you've decided to choose the path of pain. Like, what has made you conclude that that's the way to go now? But
I've been just thinking about, even before our conversation here today, and as we've continued talking, thinking about how the system of returning to work, and we can continue to use the example of the ER nurse, of myself, even, that the system of being off work, the way that the employers, the colleges, the unions, all of the monitoring companies, all of the various tiers of the machine interact with the center point being the individual. It certainly creates a feeling of disempowerment, certainly creates a feeling of uncertainty and fear in, that's a universal thing that we hear, is sort of the fear and anxiety about reestablishing your career, reinventing your career in some cases, or just getting back into the general population of nurses.
Mm-hmm.
And everything about it sort of moves away from the idea of radical self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Radical self-acceptance being that you embrace all of these sides of yourself, you embrace your faults and the fuck-ups and the things that are tough and grizzled about yourself. And it's like, well, no, we'll get you back into a spot and no one will know about it, and you'll be safe, and but you'll have to sneak away twice a month for pee tests while you're at work, and you might have to blow into a breathalyzer while you're at work in the bathroom. But we'll keep it quiet, and you'll. But if your mental health is slipping again, then we're gonna think that you're gonna relapse, and we'll, like, all of those things. I think it creates such. It generates the opposite of radical self-acceptance. And I think this time off work for me, or having to reinvent my career in a new way, having to try to find work that is relevant, or where I can extract some sort of value from a career that in my opinion just sort of ended up in the trash bin.
Mm-hmm.
And then be really careful about it, new employers finding out about me and how I'm going to navigate that. That contributes to the lack of confidence, to the lack of muscle building for coping with stress, for resilience. And I mean, I think that the most evident thing the most evidence I have of radical self-acceptance that I have done has been this podcast with you, where I've really leaned into what happened and who I am as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And part of returning to work, unless you're able to find like this really niche thing or create something completely unique for yourself, is counters that.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're up against is overcoming that, in some cases, denial of self, or like the trying to keep things secret, trying to keep things contained, trying to keep our addictive behaviors contained, our anxiety contained. So I don't know. I guess I'm just sort of acknowledging that it deserves that acknowledgement for what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you took the hardest path, I think, in that it was the absolute correct path, and the one that required the most courage to turn your back on on your career completely, especially, you know, given the way you had been treated and everything. And, I'll always love your story the most because of the way you were being so, the way that the machine was processing you just as I would expect it to process you in every way, shape, or form. And you were very much, you know, at first being processed and allowing the process to happen. And then there was a point where you just, you know, it's like where, you know, in the Matrix when all those agents are shooting at Neo and he just puts up his hand and he's like, no. and all the bullets stop and they all fall to the ground. That's that kind of like just a realization that the whole thing was not what it appeared to be, and that it was all this entire construct was not going to serve you in any way, shape, or form. And from that time, I think it was a second or third meeting or whatever you had when you kind of laid it out for them and explained everything, and they had to like reconvene to attempt to readjust, and they never recovered really from that. Like for the whole rest of the time when you were dealing with them, they just didn't know how to deal with somebody who was prepared to be accountable and was prepared to do whatever was necessary to do the thing that led to the best path out. And so, I mean, I think, yes, there's always some strength and resilience to be gained by the act of vulnerability itself, you know, like what we're doing with this show, or like, you know, being open with your past and stuff like that. I think it has always served me much more than it's harmed me. So there's an opportunity. I think if you would have continued to play the game and stick in that processing mode or whatever, then it just would have weakened you, and eventually your tolerance, your belief in your own ability to make a decision that makes sense for yourself, all those things would have been eroded, along with your tolerance to handle whatever you ended up with, a desk job, or, you know, it just would have been the whole thing would have been a bad road. But because you turned at that time, I think you took that, and then that was an opportunity to start. You'd already done work on your own. You'd already taken the initiative, but then you really started to build a foundation upon which you were able to, you know, move out and away, and now get into these other positions that might have been too daunting otherwise. So,
but I there's a part of me that feels, thank you for saying those things, but there's a part of me that does feel that it has eroded. Like that what I'm doing now, I'm starting from a toddler's or elementary school student's level of, like, I feel like I'm really having to push a weight that's heavier than I can lift to get into this next bit of my life.
Beware the power of imposter syndrome. You know who you are. I mean, this is, yes, there's going to be some challenges, you know, technical stuff that any new position requires you to learn. And usually it's, you know, your rate of learning for the first 3 months is going to be, you know, it's going to be a lot. But I think there'll be, you know, next year looking back, you'll look at this and be like, oh yeah, this is, you know, I got this. I did have it. It's, you know, it was a big change. And I mean, I feel like that whenever, like anytime I start a new job, I've done, I guess, because I've made a point of, like, I seek out new things to challenge myself with. So I'm very aware of the effects of imposter syndrome. And then I'm also aware that, I mean, I'm not a genius, but I'm a capable human being. I can learn, and I know that it's going to be difficult for a little while in any new position. But if I'm open to learning and open to asking questions and making a fool of myself, or whatever it takes to get to that point where I'm competent, then it will come in time. And that just is the case over and over and over again. So, I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? If you get into a position where it's like this new undertaking is too difficult, then I would say that there's something wrong with whoever's setting up the program, because you should be in a position to, kind of learn as you go and do your best with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Imagine though, if I hadn't have left the profession, and if for our colleagues and friends that are still very much in limbo in the machine, waiting to see if they're going to go back to their jobs or some version of their jobs. Imagine if there was an ability to challenge them and include them. We've talked about this before, so that as you are off work, as you are working on your own recovery, a part of that was maintaining or learning a new skill, like learning an actual new skill, getting challenged with a new skill.
I could not be more behind that idea if I tried. I mean, it's something that I've tried to, like, many times with Obsidian. I'd see members who be off work for just like time periods that would boggle your mind. There's like I had people who were like, "Oh, I've been off work for 5 years." 5 years. What is the game plan? I mean,
unbelievable. Yeah.
Why on earth would you, like, what are you holding on to? What are you waiting for? What are you doing with your time? Like, I mean, if you've got, obviously it's an excellent time if you've got the time off work and you're fortunate enough to have the means to work on yourself and do the stuff that's required to figure out what went wrong with, if you did get into trouble with addiction or whatever. That's great. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things you can learn for free right now online. Like, I mean, it's just pick anything. It doesn't have to even be a marketable. Just pick something you're interested in, just to keep your mind working and keep your confidence going.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I agree with you. I think if I can think right now of within the first, let's say after I finished the outpatient rehab program, which was like 3 or 4 months after I first went off work, I did that program. And if at that point, then I could have added one other thing to my life, I think I wish that I had started a course and not worried about insurance, not worried about workers' compensation, anything like that. Like, what could I have added to my recovery? It would have been then, and 2.5 years ago, signing up for some sort of a course to start it then. Not just because then I'd be further along in some sort of a career, or I might have another degree at that point, but that muscle would have been exercised. My confidence would have been higher. Even if I took courses then and went into the exact same job that I'm about to start at, I would just feel that much more confident.
Right. Well, even if you could have done a podcast marketing, SEO, social media, advertising,
yeah,
all those positions we need.
Damn
it. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I agree completely. It just, I mean, it makes you more marketable. It keeps because I think, even, what was this last stretch I took off? I think once it's been 3 months and you haven't like clocked in anywhere, if you don't have something going on, like your own business or some other endeavor, or even like this podcast, it's a lot of work, but I think for both of us, it's meaningful work. It helps us kind of Sometimes organize our own thoughts around, what our values and beliefs are
Definitely.
within this subject material. But it's all these things kind of, they keep you moving and they keep the mind engaged, and they all drive towards purpose. And, if you stop doing everything, I don't know. For me, it's just, it's disastrous. I basically have to try to keep doing something.
It has been a disservice to so many people that we know, and to myself included. And I don't want to sound like a victim in saying that. Like I'm so hard done by that. I've been off work and being paid for it and stuff like that, because I'm very fortunate.
We're both very
just
lucky.
That part of it has not served me particularly well. And there's things that I would do differently. There's things that I wish that the system, that would, in hindsight, would actually save the system money.
Oh God, the things you could do. Like, imagine if you've got a giant resource that's just sitting there, and these are people who have, most of them now have lived experience with addiction. They are healthcare professionals. There's so many places where I could see those people kind of fitting back in a support capacity, it's such a needed thing. And it makes a lot of sense to me to put money in that, towards that direction. Unless, some miracle happens and our healthcare system takes a dramatic uptick and the quality and working conditions get much, much better. And maybe they will over this next little spending spree here, but I don't know. There's lots that can be done with the resources we have that we're not doing. So,
yeah.